that goes around in Grays, and it says, if you go to the Pentecostal church, you go to church with a black Bible under your arm. If you go to the Baptist church, then you've got a black sack under your arm.
This is an update on a story we first told in a home mission video back in 2000. The story of a church ministry that has evolved, grown and blossomed as a response to the needs of local people. It is the outcome of a worshipping community discovering what God has called them to do. The story began 23 years ago when Judith Lisgarton and some other mums from Grays Baptist Church in Essex started a Bible study group.
There are a large group of young women in our church, and we couldn't get to an evening prayer meeting or Bible study because of all the young children, so we decided we were going to get our own one set up. And we had a creche, some of the older ladies ran a creche for us, and we started sharing with each other all different things and different problems with the kids and everything. And we swapped children's clothes all the time. And then we started to realise that actually we needed clothes, and none of us wanted to let on, but we hadn't got any money between us at all. So as well as running Bible study, we used to swap clothes for each other and for the children. What was interesting was, whereas we didn't tell everyone we were having a Bible study, neighbours would say, oh, I like that blouse you're wearing. You say, oh yeah, I got it from the store thing we do at our Bible study. So we started to talk about the other women and what we were wearing. I said, oh, can I come and have a look? Yeah, come on in. And then they'd come in and look at clothes and say, oh, I've got stuff. And then they'd bring stuff. And so we found we were talking to people in a very easy way and showing that we were Christians. Everybody decided to give us their clothes. People started emptying out wardrobes and getting rid of things they'd had for years, and endless sacks were arriving at the house. Well, one day we went to church and there was a lady sitting in the back with a young son who just happened to have come to our church. We didn't know her, so I said to her, do you want to come back for lunch? Well, she came back for lunch and I asked her where she lived, but she seemed really not keen to tell me. Well, when we chatted a bit more and she got to know us a little bit, she told us that she was actually in a women's refuge not far away from our church. So she went off down to the garage with us and the children, and we got all the clothes out and she started to sort through and get all the things she needed. And then she said, look, do you mind, there's loads of people back at the refuge, loads of other women who desperately need clothes as well. So she went down and she brought them all up here to the garden, and they all started sorting through all these sacks. We just didn't realise how much they needed them. This was a traditional church balcony, and we went to the deacons and said, look, there's all this empty space in the church and we've got all these clothes, and any chance we could put them up in the balcony? So they said yes, but they didn't quite realise how many clothes were involved. So we came up here with all the sacks and put them on the pews, and then the women could come up and choose what they wanted. The problem was that there were even more clothes, because now not just the refuge were using us, but social services got to hear about us, WRVS heard about us, and everyone was just sending more and more clothes in, and more people who needed them. So we went back to the diaconate and got them up into the clothing store and said to them, look, we're really desperate. And they agreed to give us £300 to take out the pews and put up the rails. And they also paid for curtains to hide the clothing store from the church so that it became almost a separate room.
Back in 1996, Judith felt God was calling her to give up the Black Sack ministry, a very difficult thing for her to do.
I know God spoke to me and just said, totally, you have to stop it completely. And I just said, how could you, you know what I mean, what do you mean, God, you can't do that, that's ridiculous, you know, this would never carry on, you know, what would happen,
Yeah.
what would be the result? And I just felt I had to completely withdraw. It was about 14 years ago, to totally stop, and then a youth leader was appointed and she took on the community work, and then it's grown from there.
From 2000 to 2003, Grays Baptist Church received a home mission grant for the ministry. Colin Baker became minister of the church in 2004 and takes up the story of what is happening now.
In 2000, a ministry was already running which predominantly helped particularly ladies who had come into Grays to a refuge with literally the clothes on their back and the children in their arms. So they were able to come and to get clothes for free, and yet we found that they were coming also to sales which were put on every so often, and to be quite happy to pay money for the same things they could get for free. And eventually we found we were storing clothes for a long time which weren't being taken. So it was decided that rather than just store clothes ad infinitum, we would just sell them on, and if we didn't sell them, we would recycle the clothes. So what began then now has now become more of a sale than a giveaway, and yet we found that ladies that have come who are desperate, we're able to give the stuff to them for free anyway. So it's we've streamlined but actually developed, because we're doing more work in the community now than we ever were before.
Money raised from the sales goes to a range of charities, from Soul Survivor and NSPCC to local charities, local missionaries, and occasionally people from the town in real need. Last year, over £10,000 was raised from the sales. So far in 2010, over £6,000 has been raised. Due to storage limitation, whatever is not sold is given away to places like Rag Aid, Book Aid, or sold to dealers. Therefore, every time, people are viewing and buying items that have all been donated since the last sale. It's completely fresh stock. The sales are run by Carol North, a job that takes up a lot of her time.
Well, each day there are different items that will come in every day. There's not many days I can go home and not find something on my doorstep. Or people will come to the church and drop bags and that off here. I'll get phone calls and we'll go out and pick up and different items what people have got to donate to the sales. So I know it's of the Lord for what comes in, and the people that come. You get the lonely people that will come and they enjoy coming to have a chat. You get those that are in need. I mean, there's so many that are in need of today. And you get those that just have to come to have a route round to see what's on offer, or if they can pick up a bargain. You get the children with the toys. There's people looking at different things, what they, different eras kind of thing, in clothing, like the furniture.
And you're starting to know customers and what they want now.
It's lovely to you get to know the people of the community, and that's what it's all about really, to have this church open and people to come in. They will get to know what we're about and we can get to know what they're about, and that's how it should be with the churches. I think the churches should be open to the community, not just every other week, every day. We should be open every day. The need is there every day. So, and I really feel strongly about that.
Tracy Brooks helps out at the sales and has been able to buy things that her family has desperately needed and could not find anywhere else.
My parents are both elderly. My father has to go on kidney dialysis 8 hours a week, and we was desperate to get him a CD Walkman because he listens to the storybooks, and couldn't get him one. Anyway, I come up here one day to help out and everything. Carol got me one, and there's loads of other things that she's, they've got that my mum and dad have desperately needed, like washing machine and things like that. But they're brilliant, absolutely.
Judith Lisgarten is amazed at how far things have developed since exchanging clothes at her Bible study 23 years ago.
And if I could have seen what God would do with the seeds, I couldn't believe it. I could never believe that the church would be so open and receptive and so supportive of the whole church being taken over in this way. I think it's just incredible. It's an amazing thing. It is something so special. And the ministry, to me, I would call it the church that meets here in the week. And I just can't tell you how incredible it is.
We're known as the church that does the sales. We're known as the church where down and outs come, and sometimes that's described as a negative, but I can't think of a more positive outcome for the gospel than us meeting people's needs. And so we're happy to have if it's a bad reputation, then it's a bad reputation, but I think that it's the good news that people who have needs are having them met through the church. It is an outcome really of a worshipping community discovering what God calls them to do.